And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael DeLon. Today I am talking with Megan Mathias. Megan, thank you for spending some time with me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You are quite welcome. So, Megan is an attorney. She's in Chicago now, but I think she works globally. She's with Henshaw Law. And Megan she's a disruptor. You're going to like this conversation because we're going to get a little edgy around law and everything. But she's really bringing an innovative approach to law and how to work with entrepreneurs and business owners in well, what I think, Megan, is kind of a fun, different way. So we're going to dive into that. But as we do, tell me, Megan, how in the world did you get doing what you're doing today?
Well, I like to tell people a little bit about my background, just so they have some flavor for the kind of lawyer. I think you need to find the lawyer that fits your personality and the really like sort of like the personality of your business.
Sure.
So I'm from small town, dirt road, small town, first generation college student, law student. So that in and of itself is like its own level of grit. And so those are
Right.
the kind of clients I typically attract, people that value that.
Yeah.
Um, and I was, with big firms when I was younger. I ended up starting my own firm. I was typically one of the only women, only female partner kind of thing. And then I started my own practice for quite a few years. What I back then was trying to kind of ram down the throats of my partners was we need to be more innovative, we need to be virtual, we need to do these kind of things. And then COVID hits. I had already started my firm, I was already virtual. We had almost no problems
Okay.
converting when that happened. And then I wanted to call my old partners and say, this is what I was talking about. This is what I
Yeah.
meant. So
Yeah.
everybody was like crash landing that year trying to, figure that out, but we were already up and running.
Very cool. Very cool. You should have sold them a consulting package. You go, I will help you pivot. Um, Grit. I love grit, right? And I love the small town. So I live in that small town now. I think we have like one stoplight, and it's a very
Yeah,
ish feel, but it's kind of fun. So you now are, for my audience's sake, outside general counsel, and you and I were talking before the podcast. You really want to have people understand the role you like to play. And correct me if I'm wrong. Is kind of at one level it's a COO slash fractional general counsel for a business that sits kind of in that C suite with an entrepreneur because of the vision, the background, and the expertise you can bring to the table. Is that a fair
right.
summary?
So one of the things during COVID I realized we were really good at was really getting into the business of the business. So if you just think of your lawyer when there's a problem, when there's a litigation, when there's an employee termination, something like that, that's fine. Of course, we do all that and we're very good at it. We have 250 litigators.
Right.
But what I want them to do is think about me proactively. Let me think of me as your COO. I'm in there with you trying to help you grow the business, understand where you're going, looking around the corner before you can see it because we can be a better advocate for you, help you avoid problems that way. And yes, you could look at it like a fractional person on your C-suite.
Yeah.
It just helps you be a better lawyer for the business. So a story I sometimes tell is at the beginning of COVID, we had a company that lost their COO who passed away, or CEO, who was also funding the business. I was so familiar with the business. I knew the employees. I'd been to the factories. I've been, really tried to understand the business in a deep way. That I left where I was at to come in and help deal with keeping this business alive. And obviously everybody was doing that across the world, but because I knew the business so well, I was really like a partner in that versus just calling someone for some offhand advice here and there. So
Yeah.
I realized I'm good at that. So we do this thing here I call a quarterback meeting where I don't charge for it. I want to come to your business. I want to know it. I want to understand it. I want to see it because there's so many issues that you don't know about until it's a problem and I can see. So I need to be able to do that. And I don't charge for those because I think it's our job to understand your business. So just that alone, because most people are like, wait, every email I get charged for this, you don't charge for this? I'm like, oh, because I need to know it and I don't want to disincentivize someone from calling me and saying something. So
Yeah.
I say I do this routinely. And when I came to Hinshaw, I was like, I hope you don't mind, but I don't charge for these, and I need this to happen. It helps me be a better lawyer. So I think people appreciate that. That kind of,
Absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
that's one of the downsides of an attorney, right? It's like everything they breathe, they charge me.
Right,
Um,
right.
so that's cool. Now you also you said something in there. I'm looking at my notes. Um, so many times as let's say tech companies, because they're big and they're growing and they grow fast, but it doesn't. It could be a manufacturer who just hit a growth spurt. They bring in the marketing guy, they bring in the sales guy, they bring in the operations person, and they make a wonderful plan and they start to execute. And then a week, a month, or something, they go, uh-oh, because they haven't thought through the details that you would bring to the table when you're sitting there. Is that does that ever happen?
Oh my goodness, so much. So here's a couple of examples. One, when you're talking about tech, now it's a little more known, but back in the day, people would just have people drafting software and they don't have the documents in place. And the way software developers are, they're like, "Oh, I have this piece of software or code that like turns left in, at 90 degrees, whatever, and I'll just take it from mine and put it in yours." Well, now they're establishing some ownership in your software if you don't have the right documents in place. I had another client who had a certain design of their warehouse and how they made the fiber that goes on shredded cheese, that white, fiber that is developed specifically for the client's specifications. The design of the warehouse was at issue and whether it could be protected as a trade secret. And to walk through, I'm like, do you allow tours of your warehouse? Yeah, we do. Do you have people sign an NDA? Like stuff like that, they're not going to think about. They're not going to be like, oh, I might be in a trade secret litigation down the road. Your lawyer is thinking like that. When they're talking, we're all like, we're looking for risk. And
Yeah.
to be at a firm like Hinshaw with a national footprint and some international reach as well. I'm going to London next month to speak, but is a huge value add for a business because you have this bench that's got deep reach on many issues. So it's really like a great fit for me and my
Yeah.
client.
Well, it is, and I heard this analogy, and I've used it in marketing a lot. When you think about a business as a bucket, right? And you go out and you market and you sell and you put revenue in the top of the bucket, and you're supposed to get profit out the bottom of the bucket. The problem is the bucket has holes all over it, right? Where things are leaking out. And and I was listening to this girl. She does chief operating officer stuff, right? She finds CEOs, and she says the beautiful thing, and I think this applies to you, is when you look at something, Megan, your brain automatically looks for what's missing, for
Right.
what needs fixed. Entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs, we don't look at that. We don't see that stuff. We see the growth, and your job is to come in and go, okay, but what about this, that, then to put bandages around the holes in the side of the bucket. Did that make
Yeah, a
sense?
little bit. I mean, the way I look at it is this: business people have a different risk tolerance, as do lawyers. So that's why I tell you, go interview lawyers. You'll always come back because I want to help you grow. And
Yes.
so I'm not the one that's so conservative. You can't grow. You got to follow up, whatever. There's a workaround usually the way and that's how entrepreneurs think. And it's really my job to tell you what it is. It's your risk to take. Here's the pros and the cons. Here's where I think we might have a workaround. But because the risk tolerance is different, they're successful because they can handle more risk usually. So I think it's more like integrated. Let me just help you see it. And
Yes.
most of the time they're like, we're going this path. And I'm okay, we're down this path. How can we best set up your systems, operations, documentation, whatever it is to
Yeah.
mitigate the risk.
You mentioned that, and I want to come back to it, is the documentation is really important, especially in this world of living with fractionals or a lot of virtual this and that, and people who are contracted. Well, they're contracted. They're not employees, probably. They're contract, but having agreements with them that are proper and right to keep you out of hot water. I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't even think about that. And when you said tech,
Right.
you're thinking about writing code and everything. That's all IP related that you need to have documentation. And I think a lot of business owners think documentation and legalese is less personal, I guess.
Mhm.
And I disagree with that, but do you find that out there?
Well, I think a seasoned entrepreneur understands
Yes.
because if you've been in business long enough, you've been sued, and then you see, oh, there's a reason you spend the money up front, you know,
Yes.
then later it's 10 times the problem down the
Yeah.
road. Let us help you build it.
Yes.
And that's part of the reason I tell people I'm investing time into you too. I'm investing into this relationship because you're going to need real help at some point or maybe right now, but let me also understand that this is a, a give and a take, and not just I'm going to charge you for when I look at it kind of thing. And people don't understand little things. I give this speech sometimes, I call the CEO toolbox, because there's a top 20 list of things you need to have for your business. And sometimes it's like, oh, of course it's an NDA, but it's also, an employee handbook. It's a, do you know that Illinois requires XYZ with regard to your employees, like that kind of, those kind of real basics. But also how you treat your information is critical. If you have a piece of information that you think is critical to your competitive edge and you're not treating it as confidential, you expect the court to, they're not going to. You have to
Mm.
show them that it's not only just locked in a drawer, it is locked away in your computer systems. Only certain people have access to it. We can lock that off as soon as they're let go. Like all of those things. Sometimes they just don't think it through. They're like, oh, we have an NDA. No, you
Yeah.
have to treat it as important as you expect a court to, because if they dig into it, you need to know that you need to demonstrate that you have done that at all levels. And so that's usually something that even very sophisticated CEOs may overlook.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of the reason is it's dare I say, don't take offense. It's that it's the grunt work of doing the right step, the due diligence is for entrepreneurs, many times it's not fun, right? We want to go out where the fun. That's important, but we're like, yeah, I'll get to that later. And we just
Mhm.
and we just relegate it instead of delegating it to say, yes, it's important, and go call Megan. Have her do it because I know it'll be done right so that I can focus on where I want to take the company.
Yeah, not only is it not fun, but it's costs money. So
Mm,
it's like this analysis that people are looking at. Do I spend the money on the employee handbook or whatever it is to
yeah,
step up to the next level? And it's like, okay, well, let me tell you a few war stories so you can see how this, $30,000 problem is a $300,000 problem if you don't handle it right. And
right.
it's just the same concept of like insurance. Of course, nobody wants to pay for insurance. Nobody. But we need it because when you don't have it is when it's going to really hurt. And
Yeah,
like I said, if you've been in business long enough, you've been burned in some fashion. It's business partners, it's employees, it's people above, below, and beside you. So your customers, your vendors, whatever. So you just have to really have a 360-degree view of things. And just like entrepreneurs are busy and they're working on things, but they're not always working on all parts of the business, right?
right.
Meeting with someone like me makes you sit down at these quarterback meetings. They're going to be prepared. They're going to come with their list. What are you doing in the next year? What are you doing in the next 2 years? Let me help you build that out. Oh, you're going to do that? Why don't you buy the real estate this year instead of next year? And just kind of help them, put a strategy around it. And then if you need a budget, which is also innovative because it used to not be this way, that I can say, look, you have these 10 different legal needs. Let's not all bury it in Q4 when you're busy. Let's proact, let's move it up a little bit in the year or push it to next year and really have a big comprehensive plan about when you do these things. And that way you're always coming in with a health check too and prioritizing things as you grow. But you're also not falling behind.
Yeah. And I think that's so good when you paint that picture like that is your role is to be part of the heartbeat of that company,
Right.
right? And letting the really equipping and enabling that C-suite to function well because you've got the purview of lots of years of experience and you can say you need to be thinking about these things. Where are you
Right.
going? Got it. Let's make sure we're doing these things and make sure they're doing it in the right timing. And oh, by the way, have you thought about this? Nobody else on that C-suite is going to have that kind of perspective if they
Right.
haven't had your background. right?
Yeah, exactly. And to think like Hinshaw we have 500 lawyers around the country.
Mhm.
And we have international reach. So, you can't replace that kind of a bench. So when you're hiring us, you're hiring a significant force to really help you see these things. Like right now, tariffs, people are going crazy over the tariffs and how it's changing their businesses and what can you do. We're on a tariff call every day.
Yeah.
Um, Rightfully so. It can be a disaster for some businesses. So,
Yeah.
we're really like try to be in the trenches with them. I sometimes will do like a lunch and learn because
Mhm.
nobody's got the time to sit through like a CLE or a video or whatever.
Mhm.
And except for your podcast, they're definitely going to have time for that. But
Absolutely.
really, you're as a service provider, you're trying to get information in front of them so they even know when to call you.
Yes.
Even very sophisticated people don't call them counsel because they're thinking the dollar sign's moving. Um, or, on which topic should we do that? If you don't have an in-house counsel, meaning like their employee is, as their lawyer, then they're outside counsel, which is what my role is. So, um, we're hired sometimes by in-house counsel, but also from companies directly from the C-suite. So, we try to come in and do these lunch and learns, and that way they're like, "Oh, I didn't even know we had to do that, and now I'm not taking up any extra time. I'm giving you some food. I'm giving you a little, morsels of information, and that way I can give you a better result when you do call me because you're at least issue spotting."
So let's go off a tangent real quick. So instead of a lunch and learn, let's call it morsels and munchies.
Yeah.
You give them morsels of good information and munchies to eat. It'll be
Right.
more fun than lunch and learns. Um,
Yeah.
there's, sorry, my brain just goes somewhere and I just can't. I can't get it.
You gotta let
Um,
it out.
but it's fun because you come at this, Megan, with a different demeanor, a different personality, a different perspective. You're, dare I say, you're not the typical attorney. And I
Right.
love that, right? And that probably goes all the way back up to I'm a disruptor because that's kind of just in your DNA. Not that you're out there trying to upset the apple cart, but you're able to pivot and do things differently, and you have the foresight. Maybe is that the word I'm looking for? The vision that entrepreneurs will bond with, I think, many times to go, hadn't really thought about putting somebody like that in the C-suite on a
Right.
fractional basis, right? So you don't have to hire her full time. She's already got a job. She just
Right.
wants to come in and help you make sure that you're protected, make sure that you're aligned, and make sure that you have everything in order so that you can speed down the path and the trackway that you're on.
Yeah. I am trying to upset the apple cart.
Okay.
And I attract the entrepreneurs who understand that value.
Uh-huh.
Because a lot of them are also trying to do that.
Yeah.
I do a lot of work with women-owned businesses or women and angel investors, and they only want to invest in certain kind of businesses, and so I tend to attract the people who are really like forward-looking and innovative because that's how I look at all of it.
Yeah, that's great. And there's a marketing message right there for my audience who's listening in, right? Target audience and who are you? So one of my marketing philosophies that I preach to my audience all the time, Megan, is people buy who you are more than
100%.
what you do.
Yes.
And it's
Right.
good because Megan shows them says, this is who I am.
Right.
Like me or not, this is who I am. If you like me, come on, because we're going to do some fun things. And you've got the expertise, the background, the foresight, all of that to really add some value to organizations and help them, accelerate, do some really
Right.
cool things, protect them, because there's some things you can get into a legal dispute very quickly,
Hmm.
and
Right.
it will take not only money, but it will take a lot of time.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
And
I tell people to think about, when you're looking for your lawyer, I said this a little earlier, really go out and interview people because you want someone that really has a similar approach and personality. I'm not the wallflower, as you can probably tell, and I think you go after it and you go after it with a lot of heart. And I tell my team, like, once we're drinking the Kool-Aid, we're drinking the Kool-Aid. Like, we're winning, we're going. I'm a competitive weightlifter, on the side as my hobby. I'm second in the country and going to Worlds in September, so
are you
I'll check
really?
back in. Yeah.
Congratulations! That's
So
amazing.
I kind of approach everything that way. Like, let's try this. Let me, at 46 years old, like start a new hobby. And turns out I'm almost a national champion.
It's
Go in the world.
amazing.
But
Yeah.
I approach legal like that too. Like, if they have a goal, let's get to it. We operate at the pace that you operate. You don't tell me. I don't tell you I don't work on Saturdays. You tell me when you need it, and we get
Yeah.
it done. So, and that's the benefit of having a firm like Henshaw. You just have so many really, really talented people around you. It's really nice.
How fun. Well, this has been a very fun conversation with an attorney. They're rare. They're few and far between. All my attorney guys are going to
They're
start
fun
calling me that.
too, here and there.
Yeah, they can be, you got such a breath of fresh air about you, and such a good demeanor that you're
Oh,
just
thank
here.
you.
And, well, you're welcome. And I want people to understand that if you're running a business and you really need to be thinking about that C-suite and bringing in somebody like Megan as some counsel to go, okay, what are we doing? Looking at the organization, she's got great experience, and she will add some. She'll definitely add some fun to the to the discussions. But she's going to keep you out of hot water as much as possible, keep you flying down the road and achieving your dreams and objectives. So, Megan, how somebody's out there listening, they're like, well, this is very interesting. Megan might be my kind of girl. Where, what do they do? What's the next step to get a hold of you to find out more about you, things of that nature? Where would somebody go?
Sure. Well, of course, our website, henshawlaw.com. I'm on LinkedIn, usually Megan Mathias or Megan Lot Mathias,
Okay.
everywhere, Instagram, LinkedIn. I am really quite available to people. I mentor people. I volunteer a lot to help entrepreneurs who are going through something, maybe their first capital raise, and they really need, like, what some people call me, the hand holder, because when you're growing your business, you don't know how to do it at the beginning. You really need a lawyer. Once you've outgrown your college friend lawyer, then you need someone that knows
Yeah.
what's going on and can help you grow your business. And it takes a lot of time and investment in the person too. So I like to be that resource for people. So you can find me online or through our website.
That's awesome. And I hadn't thought about it till you just mentioned all of that. But if you're I'm guessing tech company going out for funding or whatever, or somebody looking to have on the statement of the business that our attorney is, Henshaw Law, that can't hurt anything, right? That's probably a feather in the cap, I'm guessing. So that would be another good reason to reach out to Megan. So I'm going to grab the information, the website, and your LinkedIn. I'm going to put that in the show notes. So reach out to her on LinkedIn, start a conversation, and see how she can not just hold your hand, but really get you down that pathway to where you want to go. Megan,
Yes.
this has been a ton of fun. I really appreciate you just showing up here and doing what you do, sharing with my audience the value of it. So Megan Mathias, check her out on LinkedIn. And Megan, thanks for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
You are welcome. Thanks for listening to Experts Speak, and tune in again next week for another great episode. Take care. God bless.